I wore the chain my late mother-in-law gave me. The doctor froze. His eyes locked on the necklace resting against my collarbone. The chain my late mother-in-law had given me, a trinket I'd worn countless times without thought, suddenly weighed like a noose. "Where did you get that?" His voice was soft, but brittle. I smiled, rehearsed, polite. "It was a gift from my mother-in-law before she died." He stood too quickly, his chair scraping the floor. His hands trembled as he reached for the desk phone, then stopped himself, staring at me with something between fear and urgency. "You must go to the police, right now, immediately!" The air in the hospital office collapsed into silence. I didn't ask why. I didn't argue. I simply nodded, stood, and walked out. My heart hammered, but my face remained calm. By the time I reached the station, the chain burned against my skin. I could feel it pressing into me, as if whispering secrets I wasn't meant to hear. Secrets that were about to split open everything I thought I knew. I told myself to breathe, to stay still, to act like this was routine. But a truth lingered in the back of my mind. If a dead woman's necklace could send a doctor into panic, then whatever it carried was far worse than death itself. The officer at the desk didn't need convincing. One glance at the necklace and his posture stiffened. He whispered something to a colleague, who vanished down the corridor with the chain sealed in a plastic bag. I sat alone in the interrogation room, listening to the hum of the ceiling light. Minutes passed like hours until a detective entered. He carried a thin folder, his eyes heavy, cautious. "Do you know what you're wearing?" he asked. I kept my voice even. "A necklace. A gift. She gave it to me before she passed." He placed the folder in front of me but didn't open it. "This isn't jewelry, it's evidence. Linked to a murder case. Years unsolved. The pendant contains a sample, blood preserved inside, male, not her husband's." I felt my throat tighten, but I didn't flinch. "Whose then?" The detective's silence was answer enough. I thought of her eyes, the way they always lingered on me longer than necessary, her strange affection, her quiet words, whispered as if confessing to someone else. "Take care of him, he's yours now." I had mistaken them for the ramblings of a dying woman. Now they clawed their way back, sharp and deliberate. Had she known? Had she wanted me to know? Or had she simply wanted me to suffer? I didn't confront my husband that night. Instead, I watched. Every glance, every silence, every shift in his body became data to me. He scrolled through his phone in the dark when he thought I was asleep. He stepped outside for calls that lasted too long. His eyes darted when I mentioned his mother. I began keeping records, call logs, receipts tucked into his wallet, a hidden DNA kit ordered under a different name, waiting for the right moment. I learned patience. Patience is sharper than anger. It cuts slower, deeper. 2 weeks later, I found what I needed. His shirt, stained faintly at the collar, perfume that wasn't mine. A text that slipped through when his phone lit up. "I miss you. When can we meet?" I copied everything, quietly, without his knowledge. The DNA kit came next. A toothbrush, a strand of hair. I didn't need to ask permission. While I moved through the house like a shadow, he smiled at me over dinner, kissed me before bed, whispered good night. Every gesture was a blade twisting in silence. But I smiled back. The results arrived in a plain envelope. I didn't open it right away. I left it on the table, sat across from it, stared until the air felt heavy with inevitability. When I finally broke the seal, I already knew. He was not our daughter's father. The truth sat there in black and white, clinical and merciless. My hands were steady as I folded the paper back into the envelope. That night, I waited until he returned from his meeting. He dropped his keys on the counter, kissed my cheek, walked toward the bedroom. I placed the envelope in his path. He stopped. His eyes scanned the handwriting, the seal. His face drained of color before he even touched it. "Open it," I said. He did. His breathing cracked. His lips parted, words forming but never leaving. I sat motionless, cold, detached. Watching him break was more satisfying than any scream could ever be. He reached for me, pleading, shaking his head. "It's not what you think. Please, I can explain." I leaned back, crossing my arms. "Don't explain. Don't insult me with lies." His hands trembled, his face twisted between guilt and desperation. But I stayed silent, forcing him to fill the space with his unraveling. Finally, he fell to his knees, clutching the paper like it could rewrite itself. "I made a mistake, just once. It meant nothing." I tilted my head, and yet it meant everything. I reached into my bag, pulled out the police report, the notes on the necklace. I placed it beside him. "She knew. Your mother. She carried your betrayal around her neck. She left it for me to find. Even in death, she wanted me to see the rot beneath your skin." His body collapsed inward, a man hollowed by truth. I stood, calm, deliberate. "You're not my husband anymore. You're evidence." I walked out without looking back. The house felt lighter once I closed the door behind me. The silence was no longer suffocating, it was cleansing. I didn't cry. Tears belong to the weak, to those still chained to hope. I had none left. As I drove away, I touched the spot on my neck where the chain once rested. It was gone now, locked away in evidence, but its weight remained etched into me. The necklace wasn't a gift. It was a curse, a warning, a revelation. And it had done its job. I smiled faintly in the dark, the kind of smile that isn't joy, but vindication. Because now, finally, the truth was mine alone. And he was nothing.